So here's one of the coolest things that I ever heard a martial arts instructor say. Back in the day, I was mostly training traditional Chinese Kung Fu. And the impression there, the myth perpetuated there, is that the instructor knows everything. If they're not telling you something, it's not that they don't know it, it's that you're not ready to hear it. It's a secret. Keep on training. Maybe eventually they'll share that secret with you. And this kind of thinking isn't as rampant in jiu-jitsu, but it does exist. There is definitely an element of like, my instructor knows everything. He's a brown belt champion at the state level. He knows everything there is to know about jiu-jitsu. And I'm here to tell you, he doesn't know everything. I don't know everything. Keenan Cornelius doesn't know everything. Rickson Gracie doesn't know everything. Everybody has got holes in their knowledge. So, back to the story. Once upon a time, when I was studying Kung Fu, I was in a martial arts shop in Toronto. And I knew the guy behind the counter, and he goes, hey, want to meet a JKD guy? And I'm like, sure. I was interested in Jeet Kune Do. I'd read books, I'd read magazine articles, and he points to a guy down there. He goes, yeah, go introduce yourself to him. So I go down there, and it's a little Japanese guy. He's wearing a leather jacket, I don't know, about 30, 35 years old. And I go up and I introduce myself. Hi, my name's Stefan. He goes, hi, my name's Nip. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what's that? He goes, Nip. I go, how do you spell that? He goes, N-I-P, Nip. Okay, so I heard that correctly. So we get to talking. Eventually I decide this is a cool guy, and I start training with him. And I think the very first class he goes to me, look, ask me any question you want. If I know the answer, I'll tell you. If I don't know the answer, then we'll figure it out together. And I was just blown away by that one simple sentence. This was so un-Kung Fu. This was so un-traditional martial arts. It wasn't even funny. How could you possibly not know everything? I mean, I kind of knew that instructors didn't know everything, but to have one actually admit it was mind-blowing. To have this level of humility, essentially, to be able to admit that you don't know everything. So this is something that I've tried to include in my own teaching, in my own working with people. If I don't know the answer, I'll say stuff like, I have no idea. The reverse De La Riva guard is not my go-to guard. Let's figure it out together. Let's go to YouTube. Let's look at somebody's instructional. Let's ask a friend of mine who's better at that position. And I'm a black belt. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for well over 20 years. I don't know. There's lots of positions that I'm not an expert in. There are lots of techniques that I'm not an expert in. There are lots of escapes that I don't personally do. So I can give you the big picture. I'm pretty good at the big picture. I can give you a basic idea of what a reverse De La Riva guard is like. But I'm not the go-to guy for the nuances. Yes, when I do this, I find that he shifts his ankle 1 inch and then I can't do it anymore. I'm not the guy to ask for that. And I'd like to think that I've taken Nip, or now Makoto Kabayama's lesson that day, and incorporated it into my own teaching and the way that I work. Because if I don't know, if I just bullshit you and come up with some magical answer, I'm not doing you a service, and I'm also magically inflating my own ego, which doesn't need any more inflation. I'm pretty happy with who I am. So I think it's a really admirable trait for instructors who say, look, there's a bunch of stuff I know, and there's a bunch of stuff I don't know. And for this area, if you're interested in this area, you should go ask this guy. You should go train with this guy. Another instructor, Philip Gelina, I'm going to give him a shout out. When I got interested in capoeira, he was the first guy to suggest, hey, well, there's this guy in the States, I kind of know him. Why don't we bring him in for a seminar, and he can do a seminar on capoeira. And then when I found somebody else who could also teach, he had no problem bringing that guy into the school so that he could learn it as well. Martial arts is a lifetime journey of learning. It's a journey of exploration. Nobody knows everything. We're all learning all the time. If we're done with learning, if our cup is full, well, put us in the grave, because we're not going to keep on growing. And you might as well not be training anymore if you know it all. So be humble, even when you're teaching. If students ask you a question, they're not trying to catch you out. They're not trying to embarrass you in front of everyone. They're just genuinely trying to figure it out. If you don't know the answer, admit it and help them find the answer. They'll respect you more for it, not less.